Hello everyone and welcome back to Double Play Baseball. In this video, Ryan and I are going to be breaking down the White Sox 2023 offseason as well as previewing their 2023 campaign. We've done this for over 20 teams in Major League Baseball. We're getting close to the end of this series. You can check all those down below in the playlist that I'm going to also try and link up here somewhere. But Ryan, the White Sox made a big move this offseason and the rest of it was kind of iffy. Do you want to break it down for us?
Yeah, so the big move you're alluding to is they added Andrew Benintendi to I think that was a 4 or 5 year deal. You had Mike Clevenger as well, who was dealing with some stuff. Seems like it's sorted out now. Victor Reyes, Elvis Andrus to play second base. Notable subtractions, they lost Jose Abreu, your MVP first baseman, Johnny Cueto, who pitched well for you last year after signing him, Josh Harrison, and then AJ Pollock, who you got in the Kimbrel trade. So, 4 additions here, 4 subtractions. Which one do you like or not like the most?
Yeah, I would say, biggest addition obviously is Benintendi. That surprised me. That's the biggest free agent contract they've ever given out. But to me, I'm going subtraction because for a team that needs consistency and steady play, and I think veteran leadership, and I don't mean in the way that Tony La Russa has in past seasons, losing Jose Abreu is a big deal. He's been their best player for quite a long time, won an MVP in 2020, which even though that season everyone called him overrated, I was on the train that last season people were underrating how good Jose Abreu was, and I think he's going to be great in Houston, as I mentioned in that video that we did earlier this offseason. But for a team like the White Sox, who's disappointed in past years and is looking for players and guys that are going to uphold what they want to be as a franchise, that was Jose Abreu to me, and now they don't have him, and I think it's a big loss.
I went with Andrew Benintendi. It wasn't a need for them necessarily, but it definitely boosts their team. It's a guy, he's going to be a starter in that outfield, and it's going to improve their outfield. Whether it's drastically or not, we've seen guys kind of fill a need for other teams. This wasn't necessarily the case, but he's going to be a starter. He's going to play well. We saw him hitting 330, 320 with the Royals before he got traded. Now you got to add a guy that can and will hit 300 in the year, and you pair that with Tim Anderson. I know people don't like batting average, but when you're able to get a hit 3 times out of 10, I think that's still important. Like Tim Anderson said in recent interview, I thought that was kind of cool. So batting average isn't everything, but if you have a good batting average, that still means something. And for a guy like Benintendi, who's won a Gold Glove before as well, I think that's going to be very consistent. Like you said, you need consistent. So I think Benintendi's going to bring that. I think he was a good addition here.
Yeah, and I think that, that allows maybe Eloy Jimenez to play DH, and they're going to move Andrew Vaughn to first base, which is where he played at Cal and where he played in the minors, which I think Andrew Vaughn's going to explode this season because when you return back to that position, if you're a first baseman, you're forced to play outfield, it just impacts everything. Your hitting preparation because you're focused so much on playing the outfield, and he still hit the ball well last year, so now at first base where it's a lot more casual and he's far more used to it, I think he's going to hit the ball even better this season. Benintendi, I think, is important on the defensive side. I didn't think they needed him, especially to give the biggest contract they've ever given. It didn't make a ton of sense to me. I still like the move. I think he's a decent fit, but it wasn't, the most necessary in my opinion. And to give a grade, it's kind of just the way I've been talking about it. Some losses, some additions I like, some losses I don't, and overall it just kind of evens out as average. I went with a C. Nothing, left off the page to me. Nothing I was like, that's terrible. So it didn't elicit too much of a reaction in me, so I went with a C.
I'm right there. I had a C+, and the way I've been kind of going about these, I've explained before. C is you stay the same, like you said. It's an average. Relatively,
you think they got better this offseason?
I think they get slightly better. I'm at like a low C+. I think that's where I'm at with them, and like you said, I think moving Andrew Vaughn to first base, he's going to play well, and Benintendi in the outfield. Right now, yeah, it says Eloy Jimenez is going to be the DH. Gavin Sheets also in the outfield. So I think they get a little bit better, and I think their record is going to reflect that. And this is a team that I had so much faith in last season. I had them in the World Series.
We both had them as the 1 seed in the AL, which makes us look terrible, but
yeah, I thought they were going to go to the World Series. I had so much faith in this team last year. So there's still some of that lingering faith that the guys can perform. They're no World Series team anymore in my mind, but there's still some lingering faith that this team can kind of figure it out. And so I went with a C+, and kind of moving on to the what to expect. My faith figured it out. I think we're going to be right in that wild card conversation. And Jack talked about in the Twins episode, he's got the Twins winning the division. I've got the Twins third, and I've got the White Sox coming in second in this division. And if I were to say right now who's going to be that third wild card team, I might be giving it to the White Sox.
Do you remember how much, because we both predicted them to make the playoffs, maybe make the World Series. We both had them as the 1 seed in the American League. And all season, you kept out hope for the White Sox. And what did they do to you? They kind of just ripped your heart out all season long. And you're starting it again this season. I feel like we're going to be looking at it about 140 games in. I'm going to be looking at you and saying, what did I tell you about the White Sox? I don't have them in the playoff right now. I don't mean to spoil our standings predictions later, but you see how I've been talking about the White Sox. Basically, since the middle of last year, I said, I'm not buying into this team anymore. It's them and the Angels for me, where each season I want to come in and believe in them, and they're what's the word? Like my Achilles heel. Like I want to believe in the White Sox, and sure, I like this lineup. I like the pitching staff a lot. Dylan Cease, I'm a big fan of. Luis Robert, we mentioned every offseason, could win an MVP if he puts it all together, but they haven't in the past couple of years, and there's really not been anything that's going on that's really inspiring me. And I think it's whether it's the leadership of the team, they had Tony La Russa, and just there's not a lot that inspires me about the White Sox. So I think they can win games because, of course, the lineup's great, but I think it's going to be another one of those seasons where no matter what their record is, finding success is going to be a struggle for them. I think they're going to labor through the season. They're going to have win streaks. They're going to have cold streaks, and it's never going to feel dominant. It's never going to feel easy. And I think that's the way that I would describe watching the White Sox the last couple seasons is it never happens easy enough for them. And the roster and the lineup, we thought they can coast to over 100 wins last year. And it's just a struggle for them to continually win games. And they might have success. They could end up in that third wild card spot because they have the potential. But even if they do, I feel like it's going to be a long path to get there, and it's going to feel laborious. And that's just the way that I view this White Sox team right now.
Well, something that is always funny to me, I feel like after every All-Star break, after every season, I'll come across a tweet that'll say like, White Sox since 2000, 500. White Sox this season, 81 and 81. Their franchise has just been just right there being mid for so long. And so back to the playoff thing, the point I wanted to make is I think where I was going with that is I think they will be right around that 81 and 81, a little bit better because I'm not going to predict a under 500 team to make the playoffs. But when you look at the teams here, I think the Yankees or Blue Jays, whoever loses that division, is one. Mariners probably going to be the second one. And you look at the third one, I mean, White Sox, Twins, Orioles, Rays, and then Rangers and Angels for that third wildcard spot.
Well, you just named half the American League.
Well, those are the teams that are going to be in contention for that.
No, I understand.
Yeah. And of those teams, I think the White Sox are the best team there. And they're the team that I like the most. And that's the team I'm going to be, I guess now I'm spoiling it. I had them potentially in as my what to expect, but right now I have them in.
When I started doing my predictions, I saw the exact same things you did, put them right in there. They were one of the first teams I put in, and I put 81 and 81. And I said, I'm going to go from here based off however many wins I need to take away from teams, however many I need to give. And I'm on the other side from you. I don't think they got any better this offseason. So for a team that's been 81 and 81 around there for the longest time, I took a couple of wins away, and we'll get into our final standings predictions after this series is over, right before opening day. But does not buy in the White Sox this year, and maybe that's for my own good. And maybe I'm just doing it to protect myself because I don't want to put myself out there to get hurt again by the White Sox. Because for a couple seasons now, we've said this lineup is awesome. This pitching staff has so much potential. And even though they have a lot of individual performances that are great, I mean, Dylan Cease almost won the Cy Young last year. Lance Lynn had a great second half. Luis Robert, he's still playing pretty well. Tim Anderson is an all-star almost every year, and Jose Abreu had a great year. They just don't put it together as a team, which I think is the reason that I just cannot fully buy in to the White Sox. I don't think they're going to be terrible. Like, I don't think they're going to fall off the face of the earth, but just not buying in. And I can get into my bold prediction, and this is, I think, one of the bolder ones I've had, where I think they're going to be falling out of contention towards the end of the season. And I think they're going to trade away some pieces at the trade deadline. I think they're one of those teams where they realize that this was supposed to be their window, but they're not putting it together for the third straight year, and they have pieces coming up. Like I think Tim Anderson could be a guy that gets moved. I think they've got some relievers. You could even see one of those starting pitchers get moved. I just think that the White Sox are going to realize we're just not putting it together in this window right now. Let's trade away some of these other pieces, try and rejuvenate for the next couple of years, or I wouldn't be surprised if the White Sox in a couple of years go into a full rebuild again. But I think that this is one of my bolder takes. I think they're going to move some guys at the deadline.
For me, the White Sox, it feels like a toxic ex that I keep going back to. And
you keep going back to them. That's the thing. Like, you're not learning from that ex.
Yeah, they keep cheating on me, but they keep saying they're going to get better. And so I keep going back. So I'm going they're not selling here. But my bold prediction is, so I'm going to read some stats before I get into my bold prediction. So last year, the White Sox were 23rd in outs above average, 28th in defensive WAR, 27th in defensive runs saved. And my bold prediction is that they're top 15 in all of those categories this season. You had Benintendi, who was a Gold Glover. We mentioned Andrew Vaughn moving to first base. He was pretty bad in the outfield. So you had some stability there. And Benintendi, a Gold Glover in the outfield. Eloy Jimenez isn't best defender. He's going to go to DH. Elvis Andrus was an underrated one. He'll play good defense at second. So I think you could see them creep up at the top half of the league in defense next year.
I think a lot of errors, like the most errors are made on the left side of the infield, and the White Sox have one of the worst defensive left sides of the infield in all of baseball. Gavin Sheets is a guy that is probably also a DH. He's playing right field. Luis Robert has a lot of potential. He's really fast, got a big arm, but not the greatest defender in center. We haven't even seen Yasmani Grandal be, fully healthy and great for a full season. Maybe he's another guy that gets moved even if he does start to play well. I don't think, maybe they're top 15 in one of those categories. I wouldn't be ultra surprised because you mentioned, they do add Andrew Benintendi, but top 15 in all the categories I think that'll be hard to do. Especially because without the shift, defense there's far more important on the actual players on defense as opposed to, putting guys in the right position. And the White Sox aren't one of those teams that's going to benefit from that. So I'm gonna veto that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think I'm gonna hit that buzzer saying not in my opinion.
Well, to your point, if they hit one, I feel like they're going to be right there with all. Like there are different ways the metrics are measured, but they're all pretty similar. 23rd, 28th, and 27th, you're relatively around the same spot. So if they hit one of them, they're going to be close in all three.
I think they got better. I'd give you that because you hadn't been Benintendi, but I don't think they went from one of the worst teams to a top half team, or even higher, or I guess it is, top half team. And I'm not buying it. But then again, I'm the one that I think most White Sox fans are going to think that I'm the hater, and everyone, all the Twins fans are going to love me, and all the White Sox fans are going to hate me, and that's going to continue for most of the season. And I've come to terms with that. But Ryan, why don't you bring us home?
Yeah, so thank you guys for watching today. We've been Double Play. Make sure you guys comment down below. What's going on with the White Sox? Are they going to go into a full rebuild? Are they going to make it a playoff push? Yeah. But we'll see what happens this year. Comment that down below. Leave a like. Subscribe as well. Make sure you check out all of our season previews. Stick around for more baseball content, more kind of general baseball content coming as the season approaches. We've been pretty specialized on teams here. So make sure you subscribe, stick around to see more baseball content. But like I said, we've been Double Play. I've been Brian. He's been Jack. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time.